This Backstage with Millionaires podcast is brought to you by OctaFX, one of the leading Forex brokers in India.
We actually went to a lot of people, sir, please check this, why this handle is jam or something. All we had was 1,000 rupees. Definitely we couldn't buy anything else. Now we only had 1 day. After 1 day, there was going to be a full lockdown.
Welcome to Backstage with Millionaires, the show where we bring you the stories of real Indian startups told by the entrepreneurs that built them. I'm Caleb Friesen, and on the show today, how Gagandeep Reehal set out to solve the problem of expensive autonomous mobility with Minus Zero, India's first fully self-driving car company. So upwards of 1.5 lakh people in India died from road accidents in 2021. Now, we could debate for hours on why this problem is so big in India, but one major solution is autonomous vehicles. AI doesn't get tired or angry or distracted or drunk, but what we're seeing in the United States makes it hard to believe that self-driving cars would work in the Indian context. Companies like Tesla, Google, and Apple are finding it hard to achieve level 4 and level 5 autonomy, and that's in spite of the relatively safe driving conditions of the United States, where people have lane discipline, roads are reasonably well maintained, and obstacles like cows, carts, and crowds are far less prevalent. But what if a company could solve this problem in India at a price point that Indians would feel comfortable with? Well, my guest today, Gagandeep Reehal, believes that his startup can. Based in HSR Layout, Bengaluru, Minus Zero is a 14-person team building self-driving technology for Indian roads. And while they haven't yet launched anything into the market, investors have poured $2 million into the startup to help them achieve level 5 autonomy over the next couple of years. Gagandeep began his life and his startup in the ancient city of Jalandhar, located about a 2.5-hour drive from Punjab's capital city of Chandigarh. His mother is a teacher and his father works for SBI, and they always encouraged him to think outside of the box.
One thing that they really imbibed was freedom to experiment. Okay, there is always this traditional way you have to be doctor or engineer, right? But from my very childhood, they made sure that if there are 1,000 opportunities out there, you can grow up into anything. At least you should know about those. Can it really turn into a job or something? We'll figure that out later on, right? It started within class first. I wanted to be an astronaut. Then next year I wanted to be something else. Then 1 year I wanted to be a singer, So I think that freedom to experiment was very important in understanding that world is really, really going at a very high pace. So yeah.
That's amazing. I think every parent can probably learn from that, right? Giving that flexibility and that creativity, that room for experimentation to their kids. And your brother too, like he's in music, right?
Exactly.
So, the whole family has sort of gone off in these different directions. So your company Minus Zero, you have a co-founder in that business who you actually went to school with all the way from, I guess, first standard. He's a year older than you, so he would have been in second standard. But it probably wasn't that early in your life that you guys started to interact. I think it was around like you were in fifth standard, was it?
Fifth, exactly.
Okay. And how did you guys meet in fifth and sixth standard, and like what were the things that you guys did together at that age?
See, even when we met, I really didn't expect that I would be at some point of time building a business.
His name is
Gursimran, yeah. So even right now, my parents joke, they usually say the way you are 24/7 working with Gursimran, I think you have married him. But yeah, I think that meeting when we happen, there's always this the houses concept in our schools, the way in Harry Potter it is like Gryffindor and all, and we are always in tussle with each other, right? So it all started with some teacher saying that okay, you both should teachers used to say okay, this is good boy in my class, this is good boy in my class, let's get them both together, they could make the house win or something. And then it's always planning that okay, winning and all, winning together, losing together. I think that has been journey, and this happened incrementally till class 10th or something. And when he gave the board exams, I think that was the last time I met with him. after that, directly fast forward to 4 years, like forward, when we thought, okay, should we do a startup together?
Right. Yeah. So you guys parted ways. You would have been in 10th standard at that time.
9th, he was in 10th.
Oh, he was in
So
10th.
he gave the exams. So I just entered 10th.
Got it. And then you guys didn't really interact with each other. Fast forward a couple of years and you're actually thinking about going to college. Now, me being Canadian, like most of the people that I met before I came to India, the people that I met in Canada who were Indian, like 99.9% of them were from Punjab. So I'm curious to know like why, and I don't know what percentage of Punjabi students go to Canada to study, but I'm curious to know why didn't you decide to go that route, or like maybe, for example, study in the US? I know you had been interested in like MIT or Caltech or some of these other schools. So what's the story there? Why did you end up deciding to go to Tapar
Both
instead?
Gursimran's and my my parents and Gursimran parents are only clan from our families who is not in Canada. So like Gursimran's father's brothers and all, they are in Canada. Even a greater share of my parental family is in Canada. And interesting fact, I did my schooling from the school Police DAV public school. Okay, so there were 400 kids in my batch in this science, commerce, all these sections. Okay, and out of that 350 went to Canada, 50 remained in India.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe some might have gone in Australia, I don't know.
Wow. That's a lot of kids.
That is a lot.
But why didn't you decide to take that route? Was it because of your family or was it a personal decision?
There were a couple of foreign good institutes that I cracked. But then you see that bill, fees. I'm telling you, I do not really go into this burden of loans and all that stuff. So give that up. So now then how my current institute came into picture is now what to do. I cannot go there even though I proved I am capable, but who is going to afford that education? Undergrad is very, very costly. Maybe masters, you can get scholarships and all. So I think this was that JEE exam we have in India, right? For these IITs and NITs. And I say, okay, my mom said, like, I had filled the NIT. Like my mom had filled the form just suddenly. I didn't know that it was filled. And she said, okay, Gagan, maybe in 3 days there is this exam, you should go and give that. Maybe, you need to have a backup. So, okay, I hadn't prepared anything. I gave the exam. So, not the best of these ranks. I could go, I got certain good institutes, not the field of my choice, I got mechanical and all. But one thing I knew that, okay, if it's computer science, then maybe I can pass my exams without really studying that hard. But these thermodynamics and all in other subjects, that will go way off my head. Then I'll be worrying more about passing exam than really enjoying my life. So I think that's how I ended up being in engineering college.
So 2019, you start your journey, your 4-year journey at Tapar. And I guess it was around that time that these ideas that would eventually turn into -0 started to take shape, like serious shape. 2020, you're totally like ideating. Well, at that point, 2020, and this is when the pandemic hit too, so you probably had a little bit more time as well to just like think about these things,
right?
Not spending as much time around people. At what point, or what shape did those ideas take at that time? Did you imagine that you would end up running after this problem of driverless vehicles in the future, or was it something else?
There was only one thing which rattled my brain out. Two extremes we were talking about. You had a human brain on one side. I would say maybe the nature's engineering marvel, soulless power. Like the way you make decisions, no software algorithm can ever match that right now. And then you have all this. We're just taking too much money, too much capital and all. First of all, why this is posing to be so tough problem? You have a very good example for brain sitting in front of you. Okay, people have studied neuroscience and all in a very good manner. Why this is becoming so much of a problem? Right? That curiosity, and they were decent understanding of the tools that power it. Now, then you start that understanding, because like you said, it really shocks you. If Google's and all these big players, $1 trillion giants can't do it, how am I going to do that? Okay. Dream is one thing, execution is totally different game. So then there was a time spent in just knowing the whys, why it is tough problem, what others are doing wrong. I think we have to stand on the shoulders of giant. If you do not know what others are doing wrong, you will end up making those same mistakes. And after a certain point of time, you got to know that we are up to something really, really good. And this could be the next big thing. And
you say we, but at this point, it was just you, right? You were the only one kind of thinking about these things, at least until 2021 when you actually...
No, I guess...
or was there other people involved?
No. At this point of time, in the middle of this thinking process only, Gursimran actually came into the picture because I think he was very crucial in refining.
Tell me about how you actually... Because you had said that there was like a 4-year gap where you guys didn't really communicate too much. And then it's during the COVID-19 pandemic, you finally reach out to him and say, hey, Gursimran, I have this crazy idea that I want you to help me build. Like, where did that conversation happen? And tell me about it.
Okay. He had posted some story regarding, it was maybe, I think, some competition or something. I don't recall that. So I just text, Gursimran, I'm trying to do something. Wanna join? This was only text. I was trying to do something. Wanna join? Okay. He replied back. We got on a call. I think first maybe 15 minutes or so were spent in trying to catch up, where we all are. I really didn't know where he was right now. Okay. So then that time it was a pandemic itself. So I said, okay, I'm at home. He had came back to Jalandhar lockdown and all. So we dealt with, okay, I'm doing this. So again, same, I think that was a story with him. So coming from a non-tech background, that business background, he wasn't really well up with this like very hard tech. So this, okay, fintech, edtech, they were already in news. So he knew really good stuff about the startups and all. But see, hardware and all weren't really much talked about. And now you're talking about very core tech like AI and robotics. Okay. He left his journey with science in, I think, class 8th. After that, he never studied science. So, okay, now I think maybe 1 month, 2 months is just trying to understand each other. I had to convince him how really AI works from ground zero, right? And on the other hand, he got to know that at least the financial knowledge or business knowledge Gagan really doesn't have. And he had to teach me him, how we need to take it forward, right? Because like I said, dream, okay, I can sleep for 3 hours, I can dream, okay, I want to go for moon, but the game is really in the execution. How do you make sure you do it in the right things, foreseeing all what can happen wrong? So just first, I think the time was spent in upskilling each other very aggressively. Once we reach a certain stage of decent knowledge of each other, what we can do, that's when, okay, how we are going to do that.
So I just wanted to take a break from the conversation to tell you guys that this Backstage with Millionaires podcast is brought to you by OctaFX, one of the leading Forex brokers in India. So Forex trading, for those of you who don't know, is the trading of national currencies. So for example, if you think that the Indian currency has a strong future and its value is going to increase in the future, you could buy and hold INR and then sell it at the right time to make a profit. Similarly, there are other currency pairs and commodities like gold, oil, and cryptocurrencies. So to have a seamless trading experience, you need a reliable broker, and that's where OctaFX becomes a good choice. Currently, OctaFX gives you the option to trade in 16 major stock exchanges around the world in countries like the United States, the UK, Japan, etc., and that too without any commissions or hidden charges. You get 150 stocks to trade with rapid deposits and withdrawals, and it's also available in Android and iOS as well. Now, in addition to being a user-friendly trading platform with an option to trade 24/7, OctaFX also has its own educational content and tutorials for you to learn Forex trading, such as Forex webinars, articles, and video courses. After learning, you can switch to a risk-free practice with a demo account. Also, after opening an account with OctaFX, you can make your first deposit and get a 100% deposit bonus to trade by simply using our promo code given in the description down below, which means that whatever amount you deposit will be doubled. So if you deposited, say, for example, 3,000 rupees, then you would get 3,000 rupees extra, which makes it 6,000 rupees trading balance. So again, that link is in the description down below. Do check it out and start your trading journey with OctaFX. what's the first step that you guys actually took? I mean, did you go out and try to raise money from VCs, or did you, what was the journey from that point?
Okay. Now, I think hardware, this kind of things are chicken and egg problem. Same. What came first, chicken or egg? So if it's app or something, I can sit in my room, code something well and good. Okay. Now, definitely, I think at that time, Indian startup ecosystem was in total bull run. Okay. We were used to see these interviews. A founder will say, I talked to the investors. I, got a term sheet in 5 days or 5 hours. We were like, okay, maybe this might be an easy thing considering a lot of startups are raising money or something. Okay. We went out, pitched to certain investors and all.
You went out as in
emails or something?
Jalandhar, or you just sent emails?
All these investors were focused in Bengaluru and all. So lockdown, that time it was lockdown. We didn't have any other option. So let's try that out. Okay. We emailed a lot of them. We got certain meetings.
Sorry, did you even have a company registered at this point, or
No.
you're just two guys sending emails?
And not a company, a different kind of entity, just to give some kind of legal framework. Okay. So sending emails and all, because we saw these, that Silicon Valley kind of stories that, okay, even before at idea stage, you raise something and then, so yeah, we pitched to certain, mailed and all, we got a call and very plausible questions, you are 2 undergrads, fresh out of college, right? In the name of experience, you haven't passed out of college, right? Experience comes after that. Now, you are talking about the toughest problem in the books of AI. What putting man on moon was for NASA way back. That is what autonomous vehicle is for this AI space. And then you are competing in an industry where there are no startups, there are giants. You're talking about Googles and Teslas of the world, and then you're talking about these big automotive giants.
And they can't even solve the problem in the United States, where there's road markings and people actually follow the traffic laws. And you're thinking about solving this problem in India.
Yeah, that was a different question. So our always rationale was that, okay, they were solving it in the wrong way. And the first question the investors had, okay, how can I really trust you guys? Okay, you came, it seems like you have just woken out of the bed and you're telling me, okay, I'm going to do this. It seems so speculative. Okay. So I think we had to go back and figure out, see, the way other people are doing things, that really can't work for us.
But again, as you said, it's a chicken and egg problem where if you want to build a prototype to show the investors, to convince them that you're serious, you need money.
Money, exactly.
And presumably, as you haven't done any job or anything, you don't have money. Or did you?
No. You cannot expect it to undergrads to have even money, even.
Well, I know sometimes in India, people come from wealthy families and they can take money from their parents. So
No, I think we all come from that working class where, even our parents had built their careers from scratch. There was no inheritance that we could really leverage. So I think that was way out of the question.
Okay. So what did you do?
And that's when this e-rickshaw part came into picture. Now, the first thing is, we thought, initially, okay, e-rickshaw might be very cheap or something. Okay. You go outside.
So what you're imagining here is that you'll sort of
do some kind of prototype, just you can call it a proof of concept that, okay, what we are saying, the way we are telling about, okay, I can do it with only cameras, without any of these complicated sensors, and with a normal computer. We use this laptop to run that.
So it's basically like a self-driving electric rickshaw. That was the idea.
Yeah, just showing that what we are saying can actually work. We know what we are doing.
But you didn't have a rickshaw.
Obviously.
I think, right? I don't know. Maybe someone in your family is...
No.
So what happened then?
So initially we thought, okay, we can get a rickshaw. We went outside, and then suddenly you get to know rickshaw costs more than a Activa or bike. And then you go back, you do not really have to have an option. So we didn't have the guts to ask our parents to give us some money or something, because you see the journey, right? There was this lockdown happening. Half of the parents didn't know that the students who are right now studying, will they even get a job in this lockdown or something? That was very uncertain period. And we couldn't have these guts and all. You're imagining they send us to the college. Thapar was quite costly college. You spend lakhs on fees, and suddenly you go, Mom, I really do not value your basically your investment in my education. I want to do something else. We have this, there's like classical. You get this, I would say, maybe, they will just have that with which you roll these chapatis and all. They will just hull out there. The typical how they show this Indian families. But now, how to do that? So simple, like piggybacks and all, we broke everywhere. Like somebody relative would come, they will give 100 rupees out of affection or something. We got all our savings of our life till date, and what we got was total sum of I think 8,000, 4,000 mine, 4,000 him. And now when we reflect, now that seems not a big number. That time, that was our entire life savings. Okay. Now we had 8,000. So definitely in 8,000 rupees, I cannot buy a 1.5 lakh rickshaw. I cannot. So we went out there, we just used to roam out in the streets. We convinced one e-rickshaw driver that, Bhaiya, I'll give you 2,000 rupees. You need to rent me that e-rickshaw. Okay. He said that what will I get, because in these 7 days, I can earn more. So like we used to convince these that, okay, Bhaiya, we are doing this demo. Your e-rickshaw will be in the media and all that stuff, trying to sell him this big dream or something. So in the end, we convinced him. But one big concern, we cannot open that rickshaw. Normally, ideal way is if you had to, turn the handle, you install a motor at the right place by opening that up. That was way out of that question. Now, there were 2 kids. After we got certain motors or something, let's try that out. Okay. Now we got this.
So you had bought some motors from like a shop.
Small motors or something, and we had 1,000 rupees left. 7,000 was gone in a single day.
From those motors.
Yeah. Oh. The motors and these wires
Cables
and all everything. Okay. And the laptop I already have. I couldn't buy a camera. So, the very camera I used to do these online classes, I took that camera. Now I got to know that wire of that camera is very small, what to do. So we had to use our mobile phone as the camera connected via a cable or something. Okay.
Truly jugaad.
Truly. The infinite level of jugaad. I never expected I would have to resort to that level of jugaad, but we had to. Necessity is the mother of invention. Now that was only time, if you remember in that COVID pandemic, for maybe 1 or 2 weeks, the lockdown was removed when you could actually go out. Okay. So you could know that we had around at that time only 1 week. Only 1 week. Okay. So you go out there and all. Till the 6th day, the vehicle was not running. The vehicle was not running till the 6th day. They was simple. The motor was less powered, like it couldn't really move the handle. So the thing was handle was jammed or something. We actually went to a lot of people, sir, please check this, why this handle is jammed or something. Then finally we figured out that, okay, there was something, that handle was jammed in the end. Why not we got some other rickshaw to convince a guy that, okay, I need your e-rickshaw for 1 or 2 days. So we changed that e-rickshaw. Now, we only had 1 day. After 1 day, there was going to be a full lockdown. All we had was 1,000 rupees. Definitely, we couldn't buy anything else. And nobody can buy time. Now, at that time, so both our younger brothers were there, those kind of assistant like thing. They were standing there with the tools. Okay, I said, give me a screwdriver. Oh, here it is, and all that stuff. Then suddenly, okay, you started out and all. And what happened at that time, while trying or something, one very pity issue happened that I didn't know that the e-rickshaw was on reverse mode. It was the ground only. I didn't know e-rickshaw was on reverse mode. There was No, e-rickshaw was in front mode. I thought it is in reverse. There was maybe a tree somewhere out there, like in the front. And I thought, okay, e-rickshaw is in reverse mode. I'll slowly, with a hand, I'll press this accelerator. Like it was not on software. I was myself driving it. I will press this accelerator and, like reverse it. It was actually on a forward mode. The rickshaw was standing. Tree was 50 centimeter away. I crashed. The glass broke. That e-rickshaw.
I don't think your 1,000 rupees is going to cover that.
That glass cost 4,000.
And this guy was gracious enough to let you use his...
That was not the case. We went to the person. Like, we have to act like the glass is still there. Okay, we went out there and we said, we didn't tell him that, okay, glass is not there. And we were acting, okay, everything is good. He said, bhaiya, everything is all okay. We said, yeah, check it. We were so confident because you cannot have money. So that suddenly what happened, his friend came and he asked him, he put his hand through the glass pane. He said, your e-rickshaw doesn't have a glass. Then we were on the verge of finalizing the deal. He suddenly said, okay, you don't have a glass. That's when we thought, now what to do?
Was he upset?
He was upset. He said, give me the money. And now the thing is, we didn't have guts to ask somebody for the money. So what he said is, we were in all this, kind of negotiating. I think that was a very good point where we learned how to negotiate. And then what he said, we negotiated that, okay, have some empathy on us. What we'll do is, instead of putting a glass, glass is very heavy, we put this clip. Glass will, since it's heavy, it is decreasing the mileage, aerodynamics and all. I have a better idea. Why do not you put a plastic sheet? That will really, increase the mileage and all. Full selling. And we ended up that plastic sheet cost around 700 or something. So we were saved. So in the end,
within your budget,
we still saved 300 rupees where we had a party.
But the poor guy, he never got his glass.
No, I think now that is a different story.
So you had this video in hand, and did you go to investors then and say, look at what we did? No.
Then we Googled how to do marketing. Then that's when I got to know, okay, there is something called embargo timelines or something. So calling all these media houses that, okay, we are going to post this content on our YouTube channel, and you have to tell them. We give them all these metrics. This was the cost, this was the form factor, and that's where this thing came. If you see, everywhere we quoted this number 50,000, that included, okay, the cost of laptop that I already have, so I didn't have to buy it at that time, because that time the money spent was just 8,000. But okay, we got out there, and that's when, if you see, the moment video came on our YouTube channel, that's when around 5 to 7 media houses got the word out.
But then as soon as the media houses sort of released this story, did the VCs and the investors come knocking on your door? And what was the response at that point? Because previously they had said you guys are kind of young, dumb kids. You think you can do anything. Now you've shown a little bit of what you can do. Was the response a little bit more positive?
In India, that time we were seeing, okay, this edtech boom, fintech boom and all. So the VCs were, I think, they were quite adept in understanding that business and all. Wonderful. Because, they had seen that journey. But this was something really new in India.
This is deep tech.
Deep tech. And thing is, okay, if you have, let's say, in knowledge of space, with that knowledge you cannot judge automotive. With that knowledge you cannot judge battery. Because now in deep tech, there is no single industry. Each innovation is a whole new kind of depth in itself. Now, that's where I think simple thing happened. Understand, okay, there's L1, L2, L5 autonomy and something. I think the very basic terminology. Because if I use analogies or something, then they will say, okay, he's just giving claims. So if I had to use certain terminology, those terminologies were, not really well talked about.
They're kind of going over their heads a little bit.
And this was not with VCs. I think this was not the problem with VCs. Nobody in India was talking about that. They were still, okay, this is maybe things can happen like this only in the US or something. India is still long way ahead.
It must have been really frustrating though for you guys, because this is kind of the second time that you're striking out with the investors. You probably had hopes that we've made this video, we've done this thing, and now they're going to be more receptive, and they weren't. So I think a lot of people at that stage would have maybe reconsidered, right? Okay, maybe the problem that we're going after, all the VCs are saying no, right? Everybody's saying no. Everybody's doubting us. Maybe we should change. Maybe we should pivot. Did you guys ever think that way?
See, that is never an option. If you are giving up on the right thing just because somebody else is not able to understand, that is not the right way, I believe.
But these are VCs. I mean, these are like professional investors. Like they know. You'd assume that they know what they're talking about, right? But you guys,
these things take time. When you are doing something really different, it takes time. I think only you should not give up. Over the course of time, we developed good relations with a lot of people. See, it doesn't matter they invest or not. See, that is different because every VC had their way of doing things, maybe some thesis or something. And that is how this industry works. But I think that good relations, those connections help us, getting the connect to the opening the right doors. Sometimes you need a connect to somewhere else. But I think, that was a very good point.
So at this time, you're still in Jalandhar, in Punjab.
Patiala, my college, Thapar.
Oh, sorry, Patiala.
Patiala, it's 2.5 hours away.
Okay. And that's still in Punjab.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you think that long term you would keep the company in Punjab, or was the plan always to shift to Bengaluru?
No, company was never in Punjab. So simple. We incorporated the company in Bangalore. There was this virtual office which only had a post box to receive letters. It's like co-working with one seat. We paid for only one chair. And we were working out of, because I think there you at least didn't have to pay an office rent. You worked out of your hostel room. Like you paid fees for one person, 5 people worked in that room, and you could test the vehicle in the campus or something. And there are always in engineering colleges, there are mechanical workshops or something. You can get tools and all.
In 2022, you guys raised a proper seed round. This was led by Chiratae Ventures, $1.7 million, huge deal. Tell me, and that was the biggest seed round that I think in deep tech, that anyone had ever raised in India before. How did that deal happen? I mean, how did that conversation with Chiratae start, and how did you convince them to give you guys money?
First, after this convention, there is this process called technical due diligence and all these. So whatever you are claiming, they are verified before wiring the money. And so I think after that, it was just the operational process. We are in India. There are a lot of compliances and all, do this, do that. So initially we were running this company ourselves. Now, when we got the term sheet, I still remember we were in like Thapar only. So when we got that news so there was this in the library. So you couldn't get a silent place in college to sit. Somebody is also, if it's hostel, there are people shouting or something. We needed a silent place. It was a crucial meeting. So we went in the library, and there the guard was not allowing us to enter. Okay, the thing is, I was from college. So I had this, he asked me, give your college IDs. So I had my college ID. Guru Simran was not from that college. He said, I will not allow you to enter. I'm like, sir, I need him there. You need to allow him to enter. So finally, we fished out. At that time, that call, so they revealed, they are going to invest. They like this thing and all, they understand this space. I think that was a really good feeling that happened. So we were all serious and all, everything and all. And then, bye and all. We shut the laptop down. We looked at each other, and there was this 100-watt smile that I think now we are at a stage where let's increase the growth 10 times. Okay.
Wow. So once you raised those funds, you had the money in the bank.
That's when we say, now we have money in the bank, let's go to Bangalore.
Right. Upgrade the one seat that you had into a proper office. Well, I'm really glad that you guys have been able to settle in Bengaluru. Obviously, it was a little bit of a bumpy ride, but I actually went to your office earlier today. I got a chance to meet some of the people on your team, and it seems like you guys are settling in and working on some really exciting stuff, which I don't know what I'm allowed to, because I got to see some things that I probably can't talk about, but maybe share with me what you can tell people, because I think you have a launch coming up soon, right?
Right. I think the first time the India is going to experience one of its kind way of mobility. We are talking about a vehicle that doesn't really look like all these vehicles out there. A vehicle without a steering wheel, without acceleration pedal, without brake pedal, not traditional bonnets and all that stuff. People call it different things. You can call it pod, shuttle, but why not take inspiration from these movies like Tron or something? I think that is what that is how the future should be. So we're talking about that kind of vehicle, and it is not a science fiction anymore. You can have a ride in that vehicle, and imagine, and that is much safer than the way a human drives. You sit in that vehicle, there is no driver at all. It's just algorithms perceiving the environment from the cameras and driving, transversing through these roads and all. And driving way better than any Indian driver, I would say.
Or I would say any driver, period, because ultimately, yes, when we've been awake for a few hours, we're alert, we've had some coffee, so we're quite good at driving, right? But most of us, when we drive, we're not like that, right? We're not at our peak capacity. We're tired, we're distracted, maybe we're angry. Some people even drive drunk or high, right? You never know what kind of person you're going to encounter on the road, whereas AI doesn't have any of those problems, right?
Exactly.
It's, always alert, always on, completely taking in all the surroundings. But this isn't going to be like this launch in April. It's not going to be on the roads of Bengaluru, right? It's not going to be on public.
I think that is more of a question of we are not directly allowed to do that.
There's regulations.
And, with regulations, and definitely to go that there are certain different compliances that we have to adhere to, that in pipeline. But again, the capabilities of software do not change. So what really happens on the road, we will simulate that something in campus or something. But in closed environment, not public roads. But it's not a different technology. The very technology that is going out there on public roads, same thing.
So the only use case that I'm aware of, there's probably more, but let's just say San Francisco, right? You actually have these
robo-taxis.
Robo-taxis.
Yeah.
It's a thing. People, you can get in one, you can pay, and you can go. But do you know how much those cars cost?
Currently all these AV companies that are at the pinnacle,
Would that be L4, L3?
I think, that is a terminology issue. How do you play with the words?
Okay.
But I won't say they are safe enough to be trusted up to that extent. But the cost there is, you're talking about 80 sensors, a huge supercomputer on the wheels. These numbers, if you Google on the internet, 3 crores to 3.5 crores INR is the bare minimum. It's the bare minimum. And when we talk about our numbers, what is the cheapest vehicle that you can get in India? I think maybe 6 lakhs or 8 lakhs something. That is where we come into the picture, because...
Cheapest car.
Not cheapest car.
Because you can get a scooter, say, for a lakh or two, right? But
no, I think smartest car, it's not about it's cheap or something, that it hasn't been made cheap by compromising on some quality or safety or something. That is not the case. We are just replicating the way a human brain works. Your brain is power packed in this small head, running on soulless power and making decisions very quickly. I think so. That is the case. But that is very important to democratize this mobility for everybody. The purpose of these AVs are, anyone could use them. They can actually do things where currently humans become a little bit inefficient, right? Those trucks, long haul, maybe you have to drive 8 to 12 hours on stretch or something. So that is the real power of, unless any solution you do not make it available for the masses, you do not really solve the very impact it has to solve. And that is where we want to be.
Yeah. You had said earlier too that it needs to be beyond perfect, right? It needs to be more perfect than perfect, which I appreciate, because I think a lot of the time in startup, right, things get rushed, and it's sort of like safety or ethics kind of take a back seat to innovation, or like move fast, break things. But like when you're dealing with people, right, you don't want to break things. Like that's basically your...
I think in this space, you cannot really afford that.
No. One mistake.
The first priority is not the product. First priority is a safe product. And that has to be the only priority. And definitely, if you see, there are a lot of fail checks that are already implemented. If suddenly, let's say, one camera fails, there's consistent something happens that, okay, you detect one camera fails, what has to trigger and all. So we do not have to leave any stone upturned that really risks anything.
That's great. That's great to hear. So I can't wait to see, I've held a little computer in my hand, but beyond that, my understanding of how this is going to take shape is relatively limited, I think, along with the rest of the people, right?
Yeah, I think it is not yet to take shape. It has already taken shape, but why not give a directly bomb, okay? Something really exciting.
Well, it seems like you guys have some experience with that.
Exactly.
Working with the media and trying to make it as exciting as possible. And it is exciting. Like, again, as you said, this is the first of its kind in
Definitely,
India.
you should come and have a ride itself. I think that would be really interesting for you also.
Yeah, I would love to. That was Gagandeep Reehal, co-founder of Minus Zero. And by the way, that first employee that joined the company all the way back in 2021 in Punjab, well, he's still with the company. I got a chance to visit their HSR Bengaluru office recently, and while I can't talk about everything that I saw there because there are some things that are still under wraps, it was a great opportunity for me to see what they're building and also meet some members of the team, including that first employee. Thank you so much for watching or listening to the show this week, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.